The galactic patrol cruiser descended through the crimson atmosphere of Zareth 7, its hull gleaming against the twin suns. Commander Velcros, a towering Kryn officer with silver scales and 4 calculating eyes, had received a distress beacon from this remote mining outpost 3 cycles ago. What he found upon landing made his secondary heart skip a beat. The settlement was in chaos. Smoke billowed from several structures, and the distinctive sound of plasma fire echoed across the rocky terrain. But what caught his attention were the dozens of young Kryn civilians, cubs no older than 5 solar cycles, huddled near the landing pad. Their scales were dull with fear, their small bodies trembling. Velcros activated his translator and approached the nearest group. "Who's in charge here?" he demanded, his voice carrying the authority of 20 years in the patrol. Without hesitation, every single cub turned and pointed toward a lone figure standing atop a damaged cargo container. The figure was small by galactic standards, bipedal, with pale skin and dark hair tied back in a practical knot. A human, Velcros felt his crest flatten in confusion. Humans were known throughout the galaxy, yes, but they were considered a young species, reckless, emotional, and prone to making decisions based on something they called gut feeling rather than logical analysis. And this particular human appeared to be female, her frame smaller than even the average human male. She noticed his approach and jumped down from the container with surprising grace. Her clothes were torn, one arm was crudely bandaged, and her face was streaked with dirt and something that looked disturbingly like Kryn blood. But her eyes, those strange forward-facing predator eyes, were sharp and clear. "Commander," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. "Ilana Martinez, freelance cargo pilot." "You took your time," Velcros bristled at her tone. "Explain the situation, now." Ilana gestured toward the burning buildings. "Raiders. Probably the Scarvesh Syndicate based on their ships. They hit us 4 days ago looking for refined xenomium. Killed most of the adult workers in the first strike." She paused, her jaw tightening. "Left the cubs, and you took command." Velcros couldn't keep the skepticism from his voice. Someone had to. Ilana turned to check on a small cub that had wandered too close to a smoldering fire pit, gently guiding it back to the group. There was one other survivor, James Chen, another human pilot. He's currently providing suppressing fire from the communications tower to keep the raiders pinned down in Sector 3. As if on cue, a burst of plasma fire lit up the distant tower. Velcros could see a small figure moving between cover points with calculated precision, keeping an entire squad of raiders from advancing on the cub position. 2 humans, Velcros said slowly, are defending an entire outpost of Kryn civilians against Scarvesh raiders. "For 4 days, Ilana confirmed. We've been rationing food, keeping the cubs calm, and rotating watch schedules. James and I take turns sleeping in 2-hour shifts. The raiders want us alive. Apparently humans fetch a good price in the slave markets, but they want the cubs dead to eliminate witnesses." One of the older cubs, perhaps 6 cycles old, approached Commander Velcros. "The human Ilana carried me for 2 kilometers when I twisted my ankle," she said in the whistling Kryn language. She sang strange songs to keep us from crying. The human James taught us to count in his language to distract us from the explosions. Another cub chimed in. Ilana gave us her food rations. She said humans can go longer without eating because of something called adrenaline and spite. Velcros looked at Ilana with new eyes. Her frame was thinner than it should be, her movements carefully controlled to conserve energy. She had been starving herself to feed children of a species not her own. "Why?" he asked simply. Ilana seemed puzzled by the question. "Why what?" "Why sacrifice yourself for alien cubs? Your ship could have had enough fuel to escape. You could have fled." For the first time, something like anger flashed across Ilana's face. "They're kids, Commander, children. What kind of monster abandons kids?" Before Velcros could respond, his communicator crackled. "Commander, this is the human James. I count 15 raiders moving toward your position from the north. You might want to get those cubs on your ship. Now." Ilana was already moving, organizing the cubs with practiced efficiency. "Older ones help the younger. Stay in pairs. Move quickly, but don't run. Running causes panic." Velcros found himself following her orders, his trained officers doing the same. Within minutes, the cubs were being loaded onto the patrol ship. Ilana stayed outside, a salvaged plasma rifle in her hand, standing between the children and danger. James appeared moments later, sliding down from the tower on a makeshift zip line. He was bleeding from a shoulder wound but grinning like a maniac. "Got 3 more," he announced. "And I may have rigged their ammunition depot to explode. We should probably leave." "You should probably get medical attention," Ilana shot back, but there was relief in her voice. As the last cub boarded the ship, Velcro studied the 2 humans. They were battered, exhausted, and by all logical metrics should have failed days ago. Yet they stood there, weapons ready, prepared to fight until the end. "Get on the ship," Velcros ordered. "Both of you." "That's not a request." As the patrol cruiser lifted off, the ammunition depot exploded in a spectacular fireball, eliminating the remaining raiders. In the cargo bay, Ilana finally allowed herself to collapse against a bulkhead. James sat beside her, and within moments both humans were asleep, their bodies finally surrendering to exhaustion. A small Kryn cub approached Commander Velcros. "Will the humans be okay?" she asked. Velcros looked at Ilana and James, 2 members of a species barely a century into space travel, who had held off professional raiders for 4 days to protect children not their own. He thought about the galaxy's dismissive attitude toward humanity, their reputation for being illogical and emotional. Perhaps, he thought, the galaxy had been evaluating humans by the wrong metrics. "Yes, little one," he said softly. "The humans will be fine. And when we reach the home world, I'm recommending them both for the Star of Valor." The cub nodded solemnly, then whispered something that Velcros would remember for the rest of his career. "When I grow up, I want to be brave like a human."